Also, we have the incredible privilege today to learn Maseches Taanis Daf Chaf Aleph, and I want to share with you. I think it's such a pashut idea, but it's so incredibly profound. The Gemara on Daf Chaf Aleph on the base discusses the case. The Gemara says, Besura. It's 21b, 2, 4, 5 lines into the Y lines. Besura havis dararta. So the Gemara says that in Surah there was one time a plague of pestilence, but in the neighborhood of Rav there was no pestilence, there was no dever. So ultimately people assumed that it was in the merit of Rav. Rav was the Mardas, who was the Rav of the city, and so they assumed that it was his merit that protected the residents of the neighborhood. Ischazi luhu bechalme Rav de fishe zechusa. Tuva ha milsa zutra leila Rav. So Rav, the Gemara says, Rav had a dream, and in the dream they saw that, look, Rav was a great tzaddik, and the truth is, yes, of course, would his merit have kept the pestilence out of the neighborhood? 1,000%. But in fact, that's not the merit that saved the neighborhood. Ella mishum hahu gavra d'shayel mora uzavila likvura. Rather, again, there was a guy who used to lend out his shovel and his hoe to allow people to bury the dead. Another Gemara, Bidrokes Habis Deleko. Ultimately, again, in Drukis there was a fire. And in the neighborhood of Rav, the fire didn't impact his neighborhood. So once again, the Gemara says people assumed it was the merit of Rav which saved the neighborhood. The Gemara says Rafuna had a dream, and he saw in the dream it wasn't his merit that saved the neighborhood. It's true he had the requisite merit, but it wasn't his merit. Elo Mishum Hahi Isisa. Rather, there was a woman in the neighborhood who went ahead and heated up the oven and lent the oven to the poor people to be able to use it. And you see, it's such a simple idea, but so profound. So Rav's neighborhood is not affected by pestilence, and Rav Huna's neighborhood is not affected by the fire. And people automatically assume that it is the schuyos of these great tzaddikim that go ahead and save the city. Or save the neighborhoods. And the Gemara says, no, it was because of a guy who lent out his shovel so people could bury the dead. And it was because of a woman who lent out her oven so that the poor could go out and bake their bread. I must say, the Musar Haskell is so incredibly profound. You see, what makes the greatest Ra'ash in Shamayim are not the heroic events. Because the truth is, spiritual heroism is an incredible thing, but it is really the purview of a select few. But the ability to engage in everyday ma'asim tovim, the ability to engage in everyday good deeds, the ability to become good people just by doing simple good things, those are the things which have the greatest everyday impact. It wasn't Rav's zechus that saved the city from dever. It could have been Rav's zechus, but it wasn't. It was because one guy decided to lend out shovels to make it a little bit easier for families burying their dead. And it wasn't Rav Huna's schus that saved the neighborhood from the fire. It was a simple woman who shared her oven with the poor. We sometimes think that our actions don't matter. We sometimes think that little things don't really make a difference. It's only the things that grab headlines. It's only the things that everybody knows about. It's only the thing that everybody talks about. But it's not true. It's the smallest little things that make the greatest difference, and not just for us, but for those around us as well. You see, here are two examples. This guy who lent out his shovel, someone who lent out her oven, and it's not the pshat that it just had a positive impact on their lives. It had a positive impact on their entire neighborhood, on their entire community. This man saved his community from pestilence. This woman saved her community from fire. The little things in life don't just make a difference in our own personal lives, but they make a difference in the lives of those around us. And isn't this the message of Hanukkah? One little pach shanan can make all of the difference. One little hadlaka that the Hashmonaim did thousands of years ago lights up the world to this very day. Each and every day, there are little things that come our way. And all too often, we don't take advantage of them. Because we say to ourselves, what's the big deal? Right? It's a little nice tov, right? It's a little mitzvah, it's a little this, it's a little chesed. Okay, it's nice if I could do it, but it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. It is a big deal because there's gadlus in the katnus. There is greatness in the smallness. There is beauty in the little things we do each and every day. They infuse light into our lives and light into the lives of those around us. I'll say, wishing everyone a good Erev Shabbos, a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh, and a good Chodesh.